Okay, this video is a follow-up to the manufacturer video on YouTube for this particular product. I'm not going to name any names, but the initials start with LiquidTubLiner. Now it's LiquidTubLiner.com. There's a couple of videos of guys installing this, applying this stuff without any verbal commentary. Nothing to hear, just music. One of them's techno, decent techno, techno no less, and one of them is R&B, but no verbal instruction on how this stuff works. I've never dealt with it, and I'm not familiar with it. This is kind of the blind leading the blind. The nice young lady that I'm doing this job for picked this particular product of all that were available because it was advertised as odorless, and she's an older lady, and concerned about respiratory stuff, so, and I am too. But when we get the product, all of these products say, look at this, California cause cancer, don't breathe the fumes, don't inhale the fumes, blah blah. All these things have warnings about that, so I'm taking extra measures for ventilation. And I will do a follow-up video on this, on how this process turned out, and if I would ever do it again. But I did put up ventilation. This is going to the outside here. I got a box fan breathing from the inside. It is breezy today. It's January 10th in Southwest Florida. It's a breezy and cool, probably mid to upper 60s right now. So I just wanted to do this follow-up so that there is some verbal commentary on what I did. I took notes on these videos, and I read the pamphlet, and so I did my prep work, and I just want to post this just for the sake of altruism, for anyone who wants to do this process. I'm curious to see how it turns out and how it goes. I'm trying to follow everything that I saw on the video, but they probably got their best guy doing it, and he's probably done 100 of them. So again, kind of blind leading the blind here. So I have prepped this tub. This is an old mobile home tub. Not realistic to purchase another one. She got this product, this LiquidTubLiner, for about $100, probably less. And I got some time in it. Now, I already relined the walls with FRP, fiberglass resilient panel, this common bathroom panel. Put the plumbing in. I did that because I did not want to be working on top of this tub. I wanted this to be the last thing in this little area to do. I don't want to be working over this tub after I get this stuff on. I want to be able to walk away, leave it alone, let it sit and cure, and I don't want to be stepping all over it and ruin my work if it comes out good. So I did that. I taped it off so that I don't get slop on it. I already did all this scrubbing and sanding on this edge, the etching, and I think they just want a little bit of a scuffed up surface so that this stuff has some way to dry. You see where the finish came off, that was actually a soap drip. So I don't know how that actually affects, but this is through the finish here. I don't know exactly why that's like that, but I noticed where there's water drips and where there was some soap drip, the finish actually came off. The color of the finish came off, but it's not enough to feel a groove there. So I'm gonna pour over it with this stuff. So you see where I taped it, I left about a 1/16 of an inch of the FRP channel exposed, so that hopefully this stuff is supposed to float like an 1/8 of an inch thick. So when I pour this, I'm hoping that it floats and it just meets that FRP channel at the bottom and seals that all off. If it doesn't and it creates a seam there, then I'll put caulk in it after I'm done and everything cures. So I did that all the way around and down the face. So by their video, what I did to scuff this thing up, so I cleaned with cleaned it with soap and water, scrubbed it with a regular scrubber pad. I used the Ajax, wiped it all down with clean water several times. I used this as a sanding screen. This is just like what drywallers use. That's a 120 grit. Didn't really do a lot to the surface, and then I also went over it with a drill with a wire wheel on it. That was more effective, and I got a little bit of a rough surface on it, the best I could. This tub is not in real bad shape. The manufacturer's video shows if there's any scars or chips or anything to fill them with a 2-part epoxy, and I think they showed a Loctite 2-part epoxy to fill them. You could probably use JB Weld or whatever, anything to float out any cracks, but I didn't have any. There's one little scar down there that's been fixed a long time, but it's smooth, and I went over with sandpaper and it's smooth, and I think it's going to float okay. I just noticed I still need to tape this like they did on their video, and I'm going to do that before I get going. So this is how I got it prepped. Showed you the ventilation. Like I say, this is my first time, and I'm trying to be completely ready to go with everything on hand. So I have my tools here. I got these long skinny tweezers, actually hemostats, just in case there's a loose hair or dust bunny or anything that gets in there that I may have to go after. So I got that ready. These are the tools that they give us. They give you this comb, and they show on their video that they put tape on it around it. I left about 1/8 of an inch there, and it looks like that's what they did on their video, and that's what you're supposed to float this. So this is supposed to be used to trowel that stuff around. This is just to control the mass when you pour it. You're supposed to pour the top edge around the sides and the back and let it run down and keep troweling it up. And if you watch their video, you'll see that guy's technique. I don't know if I'll have time once I get this stuff mixed to actually get the video going, but I will keep it queued up and try to video a little bit as I'm doing this. I also have a blow dryer here. That's there, I think, just to dry the surface again before I get going. Anytime I do any kind of finish work, I don't know if you guys use this trick either, but I always keep playing cards because they are flexible yet rigid, they're disposable, and they're great. They're great for detail work. I've got latex gloves to protect my hands. What else can I show you? Denatured alcohol. So I'm doing this last wipe down. I did this thing completely clean last night, yesterday afternoon. So I'm going to do one more wipe down with denatured alcohol. Don't use mineral spirits or anything that leaves an oily residue. Denatured alcohol evaporates 100%. So that's what I'm choosing to use. I also rented a heat gun. I didn't have one. Their video shows them using a heat gun to eliminate bubbles, and also probably to get it to start curing. But I'm going to be real careful and leery using that heat gun because I don't want this thing to cure unevenly, and I don't want to force feed it and cause surface cracks or anything like that. And I don't know, this is the first time that I'm dealing with this stuff. So you have this is the product. This is the second part, that is the catalyst, the hardener, and this is the cleaner. So I'm going to do the denatured alcohol one more time. I'm going to do the cleaner. They show to put this on the entire surface, let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then clean it completely with water, flush it and get all that stuff gone. So that is their etching agent. I assume it's some kind of caustic. But anyways, I set up ventilation in here for me. I asked this nice lady to have a nice shopping trip, and I'm fortunate that I'm right at the back door where this goes into this bathroom. So I put a plastic so hopefully these fumes don't get into the main part of her house, and I plastic off her back bedroom door here. Also, I ran all the cords to everything that I need here, separate cords to everything. I'm just trying to eliminate any kind of stumbling and fumbling that I may run into along the way here. I also set up a mix station out here. I got this bucket. I considered using a bucket like this It's got the spout, oh that's nice, but it's contoured on the inside, and they do warn against the stuff trying to dry against the sides of the bucket and the bottom while you're mixing it. So the reason I chose the 5-gallon bucket is because the sides are straight and the bottom is relatively square, so it'd be easier to get this product mixed without having recesses and oddities in there to set up. We don't want any boogers. And what they recommend in their booklet, and I don't know, they kind of showed it on the video, is to mix it and keep scraping it off of your stick and mix it for 10 minutes slowly. And they say don't mix it with a mixer, with a high-speed mixer, because that infuses bubbles into the product and it'll cause surface imperfections when you pour it. So we're mixing it slowly with stir sticks, with paint stir sticks. And I'm gonna keep my sticks clean with this. And I do have rags ready. I have a bucket of water in there with wet rags, and I got dry rags ready for any kind of mishaps. I put down protection on her concrete here, and just kind of trying to cover all my bases here. And now they have us using cups to pour this, and you'll see in their video if you watch it, to pour this, to scoop it and pour it and work it around. I initially got styrofoam cups, but styrofoam sometimes can react funny with chemicals, so I think I'm going to use the plastic ones instead of the styrofoam. So getting everything ready, and I just tried to do 100% clean on this bathroom yesterday. After I did the tub and all of that, I swept with a shop vac, I mopped, I wiped and dusted the best I could, so hopefully there's no flying debris, especially running these fans. I even cleaned my fans, got the dust out of my fans, so probably don't want any hairs in there. I don't know if this stuff is sandable or polishable when it's done, but it looks to me like you pour it and the surface you pour when it sets is what you get. So like I say, I got my little tweezers if anything does get in there, and we're gonna hope for the best. So I'm gonna go at this. I'm gonna pause this video and maybe run it a little bit while I'm working this, and try to get you guys some live action feed for this video, but I don't know what kind of time I'll have. I don't know how hot this stuff's gonna run and what kind of time I'll have, so it may be just the end of when I get this poured and what it looks like, but I'll try to get you some live action. Another thing I did was I just put in new shower hardware, and I did the old rag and bag here because you know, when I installed this stuff I ran it, and I don't want any straight drips. It would be just my luck to have this thing all done and have it come out good, and then have one stray drip from the faucet or the shower head fall down in my finished work and ruin it. So I'm not going to do that. So that's why I got the rag and bag there. I'm not taking any product up that far, but they do show if you have a overflow cap here, which this tub does not, to take it off of there, usually 2 screws, or wrap it with tape, surface wrap it with tape, and I'm going to tape this before I get going. And I'm going to pause this video and I'll try to get you some live feed. If not, we'll pick back up when I get done. Okay, this is, I cleaned this thing again with alcohol, make sure there's no debris in it, whatever. I taped off my little tub drain, and I'm using this product here that they give you. This is the etcher, and they're saying do the whole thing. Their video shows it, spreading it around with a chip brush, which I have here, and putting this on, spreading it around, leave it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, and rinse it clean good. So I'm going to start high here. Okay, so I did wipe this thing down with denatured alcohol one more time, and I put my tape on my drain cap there, and I put this etching product on here, and this little bottle that they sent, was barely enough. I really had to work it around to get it. So if you have a tub, this is a small tub. I think it's 57 long, 26 wide, 14 inches tall, and it has about a 3-inch border around it. So do the math on that for square inch. But if you got something that's any bigger than this, this is not going to be enough that they sent. This was barely enough, and I hope that the surface product that they sent is going to cover this. And then they go full forward with it. But this was barely enough. It doesn't say how many ounces it is. It looks like maybe 4 ounce, maybe a 4 or 5 ounce little bottle. So it was barely enough. So if you have anything bigger than the tub that I'm describing here, you might want to have them send you an additional one of these. You might want to consider what that stuff's going to cover. I'm going to hope for the best on that, which is not a good idea for me. But I put this on, and then so I found that I was mistaken about that scar in the tub. That was actually residue of some kind, and once I put this on and started working it around, I started taking that off. So I agitated the stripper, this etching with my chip brush, and it took that stain off all the way through, and it took the water stain that I described there too. So I was mistaken about exactly what that was. That was residue, and it did take it off, and I assume you want that stuff gone. Also, around the edges that I thought was scratched into the surface, it looks like it left the scratches, but it took off all of that black stuff that we saw on the last video. I think that was metallic residue from that wire brush, and it took that off. And I assume we want that gone too. So I used my chip brush and agitated this stripper around, let it sit a couple minutes, and work it around with that brush, and all that stuff came off. So I think this stuff's doing what it's supposed to. And they're saying leave it sit for 10 or 15 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, and took a little break. Back in here, I can see that this has lifted some of the stains, some of the little rust stains that were along the edges of the surface of the tub, and I can see that it has discolored. It looks to me, maybe it's just a haze of the stripper, but it looks to me like it has taken the sheen and the haze. Now that stuff's still on there. I'm getting ready to wipe it off. So I'm going to do that. They say rinse it twice with clean water, is what their book says. And so I'm going to do that, and then we want to make sure that it's completely dry. So wipe it dry with a clean dry rag, and then use the blow dryer on high to dry up any residual moisture that's on the surface or in the cracks or anything like that. So back in a minute. So I wanted to pop back on here real quick. I just started wiping this etching off, and I don't know if you can see it. That green finish is coming off of the tub. That is the factory color. It's not just green gunk. That is fact. So this stuff really does take the surface off. I just wanted to drop back and show that real quick. And pause this again. Okay, so wipe this down with clean water, and I showed you the funk that came off there. And what I found was their book and their video says wipe it down twice with fresh water and sop it all out of there with paper towels. But I kept getting residue on my rag, so I repeatedly wiped it down with a wet rag, rinse and wipe, rinse and wipe, rinse and wipe. I probably went over it 5 or 6 times until I saw no more green residue coming off of my rag. So in my mind, that's really what you want to do. You don't want any of that loose etching or coloring or anything. I think that's going to be a debris barrier for this stuff. So not just the twice with the wet rag, go over it several times, and rinse and wipe until you get no more coloring nastiness coming off of the tub. Another thing I want to share with you guys is anytime you're working with caustic, acidic material, keep white vinegar with you to wash your hands anywhere on your skin that might get. rinsing acidic material with water activates the acid. And I learned that the hard way with a trip to the emergency room after working with some grout with bare hands for too long. I get alkali burns on my hands. And the doctors there told me, keep white vinegar with you and wash your hands because vinegar neutralizes the acid rather than activates the acid. Vinegar is a base and that neutralizes acids. So my latex glove broke. I got a little bit of that stuff inside on my hands, and so I'm going to wash my hands with white vinegar. Just a safety tip for you all. Okay, so this is what you're going to end up with. You know, if you can see here on camera the haze, it looks hazy. It looks like there's still residue on there. There is not. That's what the etching did. If you can see, the shine is gone. You can kind of see my brush marks where I spread it around. So I think that's what we want. I wiped and wiped and wiped until there was no more residue coming off on my rag. So I know that this thing is 100% clean, every square inch. I tucked in with a blade like this and a rag wrapped over the end to get in to these things to get them dried out. So there's no stripper and residue left in there, and it's all been wiped down, and I wiped it down probably 7 times, and it kept rinsing completely. Don't dip a rag in a bucket, because then you're just dipping it in dirty water. Rinse it out in the sink or whatever, or in a hose, and rinse and wipe and rinse and wipe. So this haze that you see is not residue. That's the etching. That's what it should look like. And see the swirls from my brush marks, and I did notice that the stripper took off the marks, the stains and whatnot. So this thing's ready to go. And one thing that they did not say on their video, but I'm going to do it, is this tape is taking a beating from the stripper and the washing and dousing and all of this, and I know it's going to give me problems when I get to pouring this thing, so I'm going to change that tape out. It had to be there, or else I would have took an acid bath and took the finish off of it. But I'm gonna take it off of there, wipe this down with alcohol again, get good adhesion, and put new tape down on there so it doesn't come loose on me when I get to pouring this critical stuff. It's not gonna take a minute. It's worth it for the peace of mind. And then I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna run the heater in here for an hour or so while I go to lunch, and the fan, and make sure that this thing is all dry. I wiped it down with a dry towel. We're going to make sure that it's 100% dry, you know, all the edges and everywhere that moisture could hide. And when I come back from lunch, I'm going to mix that stuff up and make this happen. I wanted to show another little precaution here. I thought I had everything. I went around with this thing one more time under this little crack. This is my putty knife. Put a rag and denatured alcohol on it, and I came through there a couple times, and you see I got residue on there. I don't think we would want that in there. That's going to be a weak spot that stuff's going to start to peel or crack or fall away. So definitely do those edges good and don't leave anything behind. So I wanted to share this. Their system and their book says have 2 or 3 rolls of paper towels. I don't know exactly what they were using the paper towels for. Probably just disposable, wiping stuff up. But don't wipe this thing down. I already had this thing all the way clean. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a bunch of little pieces of paper towel that came off because this thing's kind of tacky now. That we took the sheen off of it. So that's what happened there. So I'm not going to use paper towels again. I got a wet rag. I'm going to take this stuff out and dry it again and wipe it down again. But next time I will use a lint-free rag. It's just like these shop towels that I got. Use a lint-free rag and not use paper towels. Just a heads up. Okay, so now we're going to mix this stuff. That thing's all ready in there. Like I said before, I chose this 5-gallon bucket. It's perfectly clean, no lint, no dust, no anything in it. I'll wipe it out one more time before I actually do it. And what they're saying in the book, the video doesn't really show. They're saying watch out that the stuff doesn't clump up on the stick, the sides of the buckets. That's why I chose this 5-gallon bucket, because the sides and the bottom are straighter. There's not a lot of grooves for stuff to get caught on. They're saying mix for 10 minutes slowly. Don't use a power mixer because it will infuse bubbles into the mixture. That makes sense, and I know from experience from working with other kinds of wet materials that you don't want to fold it either. So you want to, I assume, you want to kind of keep your stick somewhat at an angle like this, so you're coning it towards the center. You don't want to fold the material over the top of the center of the material, because that pulls air into the mix. And I know that they do have vibrators, not trying to be graphic, you can use any kind of vibrator, and when you have this mix, you can dip that vibrator into the mix, and it'll work the bubbles out the top, and you just kind of work the surface and it'll work the bubbles out. They have industrial size for doing concrete. I know that they have vibrators for mixing different kinds of epoxy. I don't know if that would be effective here. I don't have anything like that with me, but I'm going to be careful, take it slow. You're supposed to mix for 10 minutes. So I got a chair to sit here, and I'm going to mix this stuff. I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to mix it for 10 minutes, and then we're going to be ready to pour. So here we go, moment of truth. I just want to shoot this for a quick minute. I just opened this stuff up. The main body is a paste, and the catalyst is a oily liquid. I guess I expected a powder or something. So anyways, I set the clock for 10 minutes. I'm going to stir slowly and get this stuff worked together and try to get it thoroughly, and then we'll get in here and get ready for the pour. But I just want you guys to see what to expect when you open up these cans. Okay, so this is the moment we all been waiting for. The stuff I've been mixing slowly for 10 minutes. Make sure you get it out of the corners and the bottom of the bucket and off the sides. Scrape the pasty stuff off the sides with a putty knife a couple of times. Scrape my stick a couple of times. Make sure that I scrape the bottom of this little bucket, and didn't end up needing that 5-gallon bucket that I intended to use, because this thing wasn't all the way full. It's only about half full, and then you add the epoxy, so they give you enough room in this bucket to do it. So I'm going to try to set this up so that you can actually watch this happen here. So you may be watching, or hopefully watching, how this is done and how it's supposed to go and be right. You could possibly be watching the wrong way to do it. So I'm going to try to set this camera up so that you guys can see what I'm doing here, or how this stuff is working. Okay, this is about the best that I can do with the camera angle. So I stirred this stuff for 10 minutes, try to make sure that I got it out of the bottom corners and off the bottom and the sides. I use a putty knife to scrape the paste. It's a much thinner consistency now. I just broke that stick. I don't think I'm going to need it anymore. We're going to watch together on this and see what this stuff actually does. I'm saying pour it with these cups. Work it around with this comb, this trowel squeegee that they included in this pick from the Soul 70s, and start at the far top edge, pouring, and let it run and keep working it up into its own field. I'm going to turn this fan off. I really am not getting an odor from this, so they're surface exposure is not our friend. So we probably don't want to let these small dribbles linger too long. Probably want to keep things in motion here. Work it back up to the top. Not get too much running at once, but I think that we really want to keep it all in motion. I'm seeing over where I just squeegeed that up, I'm seeing bubbles there. And they're saying in the book that that's what the heat gun is for, to pop those bubbles. And I'm going to watch and see if they resolve themselves. If they don't, I'm going to get that heat gun going. Push it against there, and I guess pop those bubbles is the idea. So I'm doing the farthest reaches first. It's supposed to ride right down the sides, and it actually does look pretty good so far. To me like the bubbles that I got there were from troweling this stuff back up to the top, so probably not going to do that. Not going to trowel this stuff, and I guess I'm going to move it back up to the high end of the tub, away from the drain. Pushing it back up the sides to let it cover all of what it needs to. And this squeegee